Hello, 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 my degenerates, my jabronis. Welcome to Jake and Nick's Takes and Picks. Jake Sabula here with my boy,
NS,
a.k.a.
Nick,
a.k.a.
Chaboy.
Oh, he takes my name. We're here today to talk about some big injury news. All your fantasy football lineups are done. Saquon's out. McCaffrey's out. Everybody's crying. Nick?
It's just a mess, Jake. I don't know what to do about it. But we're gonna try to figure it out right now.
You have any of those jabronis? You have CMC? You have Saquon?
Well,
I
have CMC right now. I didn't have him last week, but we'll get into that.
Oh, very true. Very true. All right, a couple of notes. Today we're updating you on injuries, kind of a special show because of the absolute shitstorm that went on in the NFL. And Friday morning, there's going to be a DFS DraftKings workshop with a special guest and possibly two special guests. We'll keep that on the DL for now. Let's get right to it.
Let's go. Jake, give me the news, bro. Give me the news.
Number one, Saquon Barkley. Out for the year with a torn ACL.
Devastating. As an Eagles fan, as a Cowboys fan, Jake, you're a Cowboys fan. You hate to see it, but you love to see it. But we don't want anyone to get hurt.
Be careful.
We don't want anyone to get hurt. But Eagles 0-2. Cowboys should be 0-2.
1-1. 40-39 over the Atlanta Falcons. Do you remember? Kick your team's ass any day, Nick.
Okay.
I'll wipe those Eagles with my asshole. You understand me?
I guess you guys were 0-0 in the playoffs last year, so.
Damn, 1 year. 1 year, huh? Well, that's an argument for a different time. One thing I want to say to every Saquon owner, don't keep him on your bench. Drop him.
And
no nostalgia.
Don't
hold on to it.
Why did you draft him?
Keep him on your bench.
He was obviously going to get hurt in week 2. Why did you draft him?
Don't keep him on your bench.
Don't be dumb, right?
On your bench. Drop him.
Don't be dumb.
Grow some balls and drop him, all right? He's done. He's not coming back. You're holding on to nothing. So, as a replacement, Devontae Freeman just signed with the Giants. He's good for your non-PPR leagues. He's going to come in. He might not have a role right away. Look at that kangaroo. Just
killing it.
He might not have a role right away. He's got to learn the playbook. But it's a good person to pick up. He's owned in 48% of ESPN leagues. I think you got to pick him up. And for PPR, especially in week 3, Wayne Gallman's going to get most of the touches. I don't think Freeman's going to
Wayne Gallman. We've heard that before. What about when Saquon got hurt last year, Jake?
You're going to argue with me, huh?
How was Wayne Gallman last year when he got hurt?
You didn't pick him up in DraftKings because you were pissed. I did, and I had a big week that week. He had 2 touchdowns. Watch your mouth, kangaroo boy.
Let's go.
Watch your mouth.
Continue. Bad take, but we'll go.
Anyway, there's a lot of running backs you could pick up. Nick's going to go over them when he goes over the little CMC injury. But a guy we both like, James Robinson, Jacksonville Jaguars. He's getting a lot of love. People are picking him up. If you haven't done it yet, get the job done. Nick, who's next?
Wow, just fantastic. Moving on, we're going to go and talk about CMC, Mr. Christian McCaffrey. Out for 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. I know I said in my first video, I think he's back in 3 weeks.
Dr. Salvatore.
That was before he even came out and said that it was a challenge to get back before the 4 to 6 week timeline. They did put him on IR, which means he is mandatory out at least 3 weeks. But, I mean, I already told you he's back in 3.
He knows, folks. He knows.
We'll go from there. So, honestly, McCaffrey, widely considered the consensus #1 overall pick in basically every single league based on what he did last year. If you drafted him, I'm really sorry. but you have a big hole in your team. Now, if you're sitting at 2-0, like yours truly, Jake, not so much.
You absolutely disgust me. Absolutely disgust me, Nicholas.
If you've got a decent bench, you've got a guy that you can plug in and get you even half the amount of points that he was getting like 24 a game. If you can pull out 12, you might be fine over these next couple of weeks and still be good for your league. Now, if you're currently sitting at 0-2 or even 1-1, Jake, and you're concerned,
my balls. How about that?
You need to win now. It might be worth it to just go ahead and trade the guy. 4 to 6 weeks, if it does go to that length, your fantasy dreams may be over if you're already 0-2. As an example, in my league, again,
the guy gets 2 wins and he's never been happier. I swear to God.
The guy who had McCaffrey 0-2, I immediately jumped on him. We got discussions going. I ended up trading for Christian McCaffrey. I gave up Nick Chubb, who's sharing time with Kareem Hunt. He just came off a big game. And I traded Amari Cooper, who is in a really good receiving core. There's a lot of targets that got to go around there. I got back Galladay and McCaffrey. Galladay is coming back this week. McCaffrey is going to be on my bench. But this just goes to show people are willing to give up Christian McCaffrey for some good players. You would be lucky to get Chubb and Amari Cooper. That could easily bring your team back into the running. If you're looking at a replacement, maybe on the waiver wire, like Jake alluded to, James Robinson, Mike Davis, Joshua Kelly, or even Myles Gaskin, who is on the Miami Dolphins playing on Thursday night. That's all I got to say. Jake,
what about your boy Jordan Howard? How do you forget about Jordan Howard?
Boys and girls, we are going to pass on Jordan Howard. We are going to pass on Jordan Howard.
Is that like a flight attendant? Ladies and gentlemen, we will pass on Jordan Howard. Once you get your seatbelts fastened, we will pass on Jordan Howard.
Absolutely, pass.
Yeah, we'll pass on Jordan Howard. On to the next. Raheem Mostert. Not a huge injury here, but we wanted to include him. Out for at least week 3, could be back by week 4. We don't know for sure. Love Jerick McKinnon. Absolutely love Jerick McKinnon. He was picked up last year. I said it in a previous video. He was picked up on a big contract. He was out of the Vikings, had a great year. Very elusive, make people miss, big play upside. He gets hurt. We forget about him. Mostert comes in. The Wilson Jr. guy comes in. Coleman comes in, who Coleman honestly is like pretty awful. I don't know. I just feel like he's completely irrelevant. But anyway, McKinnon's a great pickup. Big week 3, good for PPR, can get targets on the air. Not really a bell cow back, but big play upside. I love him. The other guy, and Jerick McKinnon's 51.9% owned in ESPN leagues. He should be there in 1 and 2 leagues. Easy math. Get him, pick him up. If you're in more than 1 league, you should be able to pick him up. Jeff Wilson Jr., the other guy, they have a running back by committee. San Francisco runs the ball. They're a run-first team. Garoppolo's hurt. Another reason why they'll be running a lot. 4.8% owned in ESPN leagues. Yeah. Worth a shot for week 3. Worth a shot. That's it. That's all I got. That's all.
What do you think going forward?
What do you
mean? Does he play next week?
What do you mean?
What about when Mostert comes back?
Did you not hear me? Do you fucking deaf? You can't hear me with those kangaroo ears? I said week 3 for Jeff Wilson. You understand? Week 3, not week 4, week 3.
No, I do agree with that. Yeah, I agree. All right, moving on. Jimmy G, the porn star himself.
Oh, I love you brought that up.
This man, he's got a high ankle sprain. Doesn't seem to be as bad as Christian McCaffrey's. What's his name? The coach. Week to week, they said he maybe had
Shanahan.
A chance this week. Shanahan said he maybe had a chance this week. Not going to happen. It's going to be Mullins, but he could be back next week. Personally, Jake, you might disagree, but I don't see Jimmy G as a top tier QB or a guy that should be starting on your team. Maybe matchup based. In 10 to 12 team leagues, but maybe in some deeper leagues, some 16 team leagues, he could have been your guy. Very well could have been your guy. So what can you do to fix that?
Wait, can we just stop? if he's your guy, we need to assess a few other things too. If he's your guy, like if he's starting every single one of your weeks, we should talk. We should talk. But anyway, go ahead.
Don't listen to Jake. I'm sure if you had you're 2-0. You're 2-0, 100%. But my recommendation, my expert opinion, you got to stream a QB. You're not going to get a trade out of this guy. There's got to be some good guys on the waivers. It's past Wednesday. Usually that's when the waivers run. So if you're watching this video now, you could probably pick somebody up without even having to go on the waiver wire. As we said in our previous video, if you haven't watched it, Jake likes Matthew Stafford versus the Cardinals. I like Mitchell Trubisky versus the Falcons. If you haven't seen it, go check out that video. But those guys are pretty much available in most leagues, talking about ESPN, Yahoo. But if those guys aren't available, I would also look at Justin Herbert versus Carolina. I think that's going to be a great matchup for him. He looked great in week 1 against the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Not week 1, his first start, we'll put it that way. So I think this week he might even be even better. And then Phillip Rivers versus the Jets, because the Jets. Yeah. Well, you got anything to say, Jake?
Phillip Rivers?
The Jets, Jake.
Phillip Rivers?
Yeah. Who are you taking?
Phillip Rivers has looked worse.
He was my 4th guy.
You still put him on the show, Nick. You put him on the show. You put Phillip Rivers on the show. He's had 2 of the worst games I ever saw. You understand me? I'm like my Italian mother. Worst games I ever saw. Also,
you just move across the country in one sentence?
Side note. I sent off this video to my ma. You know what she says to me? Honey, you lost money.
Phillip Rivers in. Set it and forget it.
No, she says, honey, you lost money on the Saints. What are you doing? Why are you gambling on the football? You lost money on the Saints.
Honey, why are you losing my money? Why are you losing my money?
That's what she says. I'm like, Ma, it's my own fucking money. She's like, don't use your money on the Saints. Anyway.
It might be because of that pineapple shirt there.
Start Phillip Rivers, I guess, guys. On to the next.
He doesn't listen.
Courtland Sutton. I said that way too excitingly because he's out for the season. And It's sad because I love Courtland Sutton. He's on my fantasy team.
It's a little sad.
No more.
Especially like being out here in Denver.
You're not holding on to anything. Drop him.
The city is in mourning, Jake, for Courtland Sutton. It just is. I feel it in the air. They're mourning.
So is my fantasy team and my bench, but he's gone. I'm going to walk through all the Denver receivers. You might not know of them. You might only know one of them, but here they are. Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick. Let me ask you this. If you heard Tim Patrick, what's his profession? It's not wide receiver in the NFL.
SpongeBob.
It's so SpongeBob. Got it. I was thinking maybe like, I don't know. KJ Hamler, the Hamburglar.
Hey, I know that guy.
Deshaun Hamilton. Those are the top 4. I'm going to walk through them. Jerry Jeudy.
They're fine. They have Jeff Driscoll. Yeah,
they're fine because they have Jeff Driscoll. Here we are. Jerry Jeudy, 7 and 8 targets in the last 2, 4 receptions in each game, 56 and 62 yards respectively. He's 75.4% owned. If you did lose Courtland Sutton and can get Jerry Jeudy for very cheap or off the waiver wires, do it. But Jeff Driscoll's quarterback. So take that with a grain of salt. Next, Tim Patrick. 5 targets in each of his last 2, and he's 0.4% owned in ESPN fantasy leagues.
Timmy P,
the SpongeBob Hamburger.
What a guy. What a guy.
5 targets in the last 2. If you need 5 points to win, put in Tim Patrick. Okay, that's it. That's the only time you put him in.
Yeah.
That's it. Up next, Deshaun Hamilton, 3 targets in the last 2 games. Don't play him. This one, pretty interesting. KJ Hamler comes in second half. Courtland Sutton's hurt. He could have came in the first half. I'm not sure. But Courtland Sutton got hurt. He comes in. He gets 7 targets, 3 catches for 48 yards, 7.8 points in PPR leagues, 2.1% on ESPN fantasy leagues. But interesting here, he's got this connection with Driscoll. They have this backup quarterbacks they're throwing to these number 3, number 4 wide receivers. And so when he came in, he looked for Hamler more than anyone else, more than Judy, more than Patrick, more than Hamilton. So I think he's a good pickup, at least for week 3. See how it plays out. If him and Driscoll have that connection and Driscoll somehow plays okay, he's a great pickup you can get him in basically all leagues. So get it done.
Yeah. And I think if Hamler didn't have all these injuries coming out of training camp, he would be a lot higher on people's boards and 100% more owned in all of these leagues. The dude is a baller. They drafted him fairly high. I don't know the exact round. I'm pretty sure top 3 rounds they drafted Hamler. Him and Judy, along with Sutton, are the future of that team. Look for Hamler to definitely get a lot of targets and looks going forward. But
did you pick him up in our league? Because I'm doing it.
I'm not picking him up. No.
You doing it. Team's too good, Nick.
Who knows?
My name's Nick, and fucking my team's too good. My team
matter.
has no place for KJ Hamler.
All righty. On to my next guy. This is a guy you probably don't know about.
Are you asking me?
His name's Paris Campbell.
Paris
Campbell.
Hilton.
What a guy. Coming into the season, I think he was like their number 3 or number 4 guy. First 2 weeks, popping off for the Colts.
Pop off.
Unfortunately,
pop off.
He is out indefinitely with a knee injury. You hate to see it. The fact is, all jokes aside, the guy was finally catching his stride. We know how difficult it is in this league to get your chance and to be productive when you have that chance. And it looked like Paris Campbell was starting to find his way in the NFL. Unfortunately, he got hurt. But also, unfortunately, you might have picked him up after week 1 and inserted him in your lineup, and now you have a hole. So again, what can you do? This is not a guy
fat hole.
Jake, big fat hole. Biggest hole I've ever seen. Bigger than Christian McCaffrey. Put it that way. Again, what can you do? You cannot trade this guy. No one is going to trade you anything for this guy. But what you can do is if you're looking to fill that spot with a Colts receiver, look no further than Michael Pittman.
Pit Daddy.
2nd round pick out of USC for the Colts. These guys that are drafted in the 2nd round are not there to look pretty. This guy is there to become a starting wide receiver. This is his chance. But again, this is only if you're looking to replace the Paris Campbell spot from a Colts receiver. Otherwise, I'm going to give you some options here. Again, based on our last video, I was really big on a guy named Russell Gage on the Falcons. He is their 3rd guy. He's been eating up targets. He just hasn't had the touchdown production, but the guy's had over 15 points in the first 2 weeks without a touchdown. So let that sink in. Next guy, he's honestly not as owned as I would have thought of. He kind of shit the bed in the first 2 weeks, but that is Deshaun Jackson of the Eagles. A guy that we didn't squeeze in here, Jalen Reagor, is going to be out for the next couple of weeks because of a UCL tear in his thumb. Hate to see it. I'm an Eagles fan. It's not surprising. Everyone gets hurt on the Eagles. It just happens. But Deshaun Jackson, without Alshon Jeffrey, without Jalen Reagor, this dude needs to go off for this team. We're 0-2. Pick up Deshaun Jackson.
Who's your other receiver besides your tight ends?
We have Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh my goodness gracious.
And we have the former quarterback.
Anyone knows
regular season hero, Greg Ward out of Houston.
Dear Lord in heaven.
Hey,
all right.
If Deshaun Jackson's not available and you need a slot guy who might get 3 targets a game, look no further than Greg Ward.
Sure.
Moving on, a guy Jake's going to talk about later. I'm going to steal his thunder right now, but also look for Golden Tate from the Giants. You'll know why. And then again, another guy we already talked about, Jerry Jeudy. He is fairly well owned, but I think it's only around 70%. So you could probably find him in a couple of your leagues. All right, Jake, that's it for me.
You're done? You're out?
That's it for that guy.
You want to just sign out? I'll take it
I think we need to move on to the next guy.
You want to hop away, Mr. Kangaroo? Last but not least, Sterling Shepard. Reports say he's out until at least mid-October with turf toe.
Just in time for Halloween.
That's a minimum 3 games, in my opinion. Could be more. Could be more. As Nick said, look to Golden Tate at 57.1% in ESPN leagues. He's going to be your guy. I think Evan Ingram, overhyped. People know who he was. He had a couple good games, maybe even a good half a year. He's not great. Daniel Jones doesn't like him, doesn't target him a lot. Some other wide receivers you might want to consider. Chaboy, Preston Williams, 56.1% owned in ESPN leagues. Him and Devontae Parker are both number ones for Miami. 1-2, 1A, 1B. 1A, 1B, Nicky boy. 1A, 1B.
Preston.
5 and 7 targets in the last 2 games, but only 1 and 2 catches. Could be a little Fitzmagic, unfitzmagic.
Sounds like a bust.
He's due, Nick. He's
Oh,
due.
he's due.
5 and 7 targets. 12 targets, average 6 targets. If you lose Sterling Shepard, who probably shouldn't be in your starting lineup anyway, you can pick up Preston Williams. Volume is there. Another guy.
Sterling Shepard used to be a start, Jake. A start every week, especially in DraftKings. Sterling Shepard.
Well, are you talking about 2017?
I'm saying he used to be. What happened?
2018?
I don't know.
Nick, we're in 2020. I don't know if you've looked around recently.
I just feel like all the days blended.
The poor kangaroo just hops
Kangaroo.
around. Last guy, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, has a lot of bad drops, but he's all they got. They got Lazard, they got Scantling, and they got Adams. Adams is going to be back. Who knows if he's going to be banged up? Scantling with 6 and 7 targets, 16.9 and 9.4 points in PPR leagues in his last 2 games. They have a high-flying offense. Aaron Rodgers not afraid to throw the ball deep. I don't mind him for the time being. Week 3, you need him. 3 weeks, you pick him up. Sterling Shepard comes back and saves your day. He probably shouldn't be saving your day. But if he comes back, are you raising your hand? Yes, Nick.
Do you know where Scantling went to school?
No idea.
USF.
And Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a sit-em. Do not pick him up.
Gabriel Davis. UCF.
Wow. You know what? We're going to audible mid-show. Screw the show notes. Screw the stats. Gabe Davis, game-winning touchdown for the Buffalo Bills. Pick him up.
Pick him up.
Pick him up. Explosive, fast, UCF night. Pick him up.
Scantling, cut him off.
Pick him up. Set it and forget it. We're done here.
I didn't forget it.
We're done here, Nick.
You got anyone else?
Any last words?
I'm just...
Shut up, Nick. Goodbye.